Now we are returning to the Dvar Malchut that we learned for the last, well, I guess just yesterday we started, right? Because Yom Rishon was the fast day. So we're learning about how God is going to comfort the Jewish people, cheer us up. I tried to look for a synonym, something synonymous to comfort the Jewish people. Nachamu, Nachamu means comfort, comfort. Because the word comfort is also, just means be comfortable, be comfortable. So, and that's okay. That's not exactly the meaning of Nachmu. Nachmu it doesn't mean to be comfortable. God doesn't want us to be comfortable. I mean, he wants us to be comfortable, but that's not the purpose. Here, Nachmu means is to be. I couldn't really find a good synonymous word to it. The Rebbe expresses it in the terms of Nachmu, Nachmu, to be comforted, comforted, right? It doesn't mean to be comforted. It's like let me think of a word. Maybe you can think of a word for it. Let's say like a person he he uh, he loses his wallet, and there's $1,000 in the wallet, and he feels terrible, right? He's going to pay his rent, and he worked hard for the money, and the money gets lost. $1,000 gets lost from his wallet, and he's looking around and he can't find out where it is. He can't figure out where it is, and he prays to God and he hopes for God, and someone comes up to him and says, "You've just been on television. We wanted to see if you got angry." And we said anyone who loses their wallet, does not get angry and frustrated, he gets $10 million. So, really? So, yeah, okay, that's what we're talking about, being comforted. That you start to think, wow, it was a really good thing. I lost my wallet. It was a really good thing. And before you were brokenhearted, but you didn't cry, you didn't get angry, you didn't start suspecting people, whatever it is. You tried to look around, you tried to figure out where it was, but you didn't. And the same thing is here. It's a poor example, maybe, but maybe not. God destroyed the first temple, the second temple. We lost everything. We lost the whole business. We lost where we were going. And we worked so hard. We figured, okay, we made a couple of mistakes. Maybe I misplaced my wallet. Oh God, you're such a fool. $1,000 in the wallet. I shouldn't have taken it out at one time. And that's that blame yourself. And it's this, right? But instead of the Jewish people saying, okay, let's just give up, just give up. So we pray to God and we say, look, maybe we got to get it together. We shouldn't have done what we did. We really deserved it. Please have mercy. So God says he's going to comfort us. What does he mean, comfort us? He's going to reimburse us 1,000,000 times more. And the Rebbe says, not 1,000,000 times more, doubled. What do you mean double? Double times, double. More than 1,000,000, double. 2,000,000, double. 4,000,000, double. No matter what number you say, God says, I'm going to double it. No matter how much good it's going to be doubled. That's what it means, nachmu, nachmu. I'm going to double and double. So I looked it up. The best word I could find is to cheer someone up. Huh? To cheer somebody up. I guess, somebody is down, so you cheer them up. So that's that's the best one I found in any case. That's the best term I found. To cheer someone up. In other words, the person was sad, and you make him cheerful. Okay, maybe there's no term like this in the non-Jewish world because there's no such concept in the non-Jewish world as to be reimbursed infinite times for your pain. Pain just always remains pain, and that's it. Maybe you can just forget it in the past. Okay, and maybe in Judaism there also doesn't exist such a word, if the fact is, because this is a term, maybe just a Moshiach, pure Moshiach term. Moshiach term, that God will actually comfort us, he'll cheer us up, he'll, how do you say, reimburse us. All these words are insufficient. He'll give us some sort of an amazing prize, which will show us that all the difficulties were worthwhile, right? It's like I said, like the guy says, wow, I'm really glad I lost my wallet. I'm really glad I lost my wallet. Now I have $10 million in the bank instead of just 1,000. And it's the same thing the Jewish people will say, well, we're really glad the first and the second temples were destroyed because we now get a blast of what God really is, the goodness we never. Anyway, the Rebbe is trying to prepare us for this. Somehow or other, the Rebbe knows about this, and he knows it's going to happen. And he's trying to tell us that it's something that we should prepare ourselves for and go about our lives in a way that this is about to happen. Don't give up. And that's not the message, don't give up. That's just like a side thing. It should be that we should increase our service and prepare ourselves for this amazing service of God. Now, one thing is that when Moshiach is revealed and all this good is revealed, and so unlike the person in the example that I made up, he gets a $10 million. He says, oh, no, I don't have to work anymore. The revelation that's going to come from Moshiach is going to make us work 1,000 times more. But we'll know who we're working for. We'll know what we're working for. We'll feel just so grateful every second that we exist. I just want to do anything I can to express my gratitude to the Creator. That's essentially the Jewish people. Yehudi means hodaya, expressing hodaya, thanks, gratitude. Okay, let's explain. Abira Inyan explaining a little bit more detail about this unlimited reward and this unlimited reward of Nachamu Nachamu. By the way, the reason we're talking about Nachamu Nachamu because that's the Haftorah of this week, right? For 3 weeks, we've had very negative Haftorahs, right? After the Torah is read in the synagogue, they read a part of the prophets. So the first 3 weeks up to Tisha B'Av were very negative Haftorahs from Isaiah. How bad the Jews are, and even an ox knows its master, and the Jews don't know their master, and etc., etc. And like I said so many times, in the end, it ends up with, don't worry, Jews, God is never going to leave you. But on the other hand, don't forget you're doing terrible. That's these 7 weeks now after Tisha B'Av, each one is talking about the good of the Jewish people, how good they are, and how God is going to comfort them and cheer them up and reward them 1,000,000 times, 10 million times, 100 million times, an infinite, says Nachum Nachum, an infinite reward. Okay, so that God doubles over, says Nachum Nachum, be comforted. Eino Sholel, it does not negate Hamala Pratit Sheba'ofenei HaGeula. It's not just saying that everything is going to be doubled and redoubled. But everybody, you stand in line and you get a gift of $100 million. Everybody gets the same amazing. It says, don't think that this negates the details. All of the details that are going to be revealed, this is part of the infinite reward for the redemption. Maybe I can say it like this. In Chassidut, it brings up a lot. It's very important to know that God is infinite. God is more infinite than the angels, than the upper worlds. But God's infinity means that he's not limited to being unlimited. God doesn't have to be out of the world. Exactly the opposite. God wants to be revealed in every little detail of the world. That's the job of the Jewish people. That's what we just finished learning in Likutei Torah. Revealing God in every detail in the world doesn't mean you have to go around and everything sprinkle water or put oil or something like that, or everything in the world. You have to anoint everything or make a little prayer. It just means that everything you come across in the world, you have to use it the way God wants you to use it. Money comes into your hand, be honest, give charity. That means revealing godliness in the world. Thinking all the time, I want to do what God wants me to do. That's all. You have a family, educate your children properly. You have a house, use the house for bringing in guests, for giving charity, for a place where you can sit and learn Torah. You can be a better person. That's what it means. Every single detail, every human being. That's what it means being comforted doubly. The double means also on the first temple and on the second temple. Tzorech Lavan, we also understand. What's the whole idea of the Holy Temple? That this physical world is holy. The physical world is infinitely more important and eternally important, more than heaven. Heaven's the end. In the end, all the body, the souls will come down into this world again. And the Holy Temple shows that this is where God really wants to be, in this physical world. Kaven since shenechama, that this comfort that we're going to get, lo rak mipnei pius, it's not just a comfort, but it's by means of the third temple will be rebuilt in a totally new way. Lamai, what do we care that this comfort on the building temple is on the two destructions or not on the two destructions? It'll be built the way it's supposed to be. The explanation is this, that the first temple and the second temple, these are two ways of having a holy temple. Yesh b'zeh mashin b'zeh. It's like, let's say, for instance, you hire an architect, a contractor to build your house, and he builds your house, and it falls down. Right? You build your house, you put a mezuzah on the door, slam the door, and the whole house falls down. Hey, that's terrible. I just don't worry. I'll build you another one. I'll build you another house. I'll build you another one for free. So he builds a second house, and the second house it's bigger than the first one, but nicer than the first one. And same thing, you put the mezuzah on the door, and it takes a week, and then the house falls down. Don't worry, I'm going to be the third house, and the third house is going to stay there forever. So who cares about the first and the second one, right? All we care about is I want a house, a normal house. Same thing with the temples. God built the first temple, he built the second temple. So they were destroyed. Okay, it didn't work out. So there's going to be a third temple. That's the way it was supposed to be. What do we care about the first one or the second one? Says the Rebbe, no. It doesn't work that way. The first temple expressed something. The second temple was expressing something. Without those first two, you couldn't have the third one. You couldn't come to the third one. It says the first two temples, all three temples have something, some quality which is not possessed by the others. The first temple that was revealing godliness from above. This is revealing godliness from the highest levels, higher than even the second temple. In the first temple, there was more godliness revealed. In the second temple, there wasn't, the tablets weren't in their place. The tablets were placed down deep in the ground. Maimonides says, we didn't read that, I should have read it, that when King Solomon built the temple, first temple, he knew it was going to be destroyed. He knew in prophetic vision it was going to be destroyed, and therefore he built a special room. It says down deep in a twisted chambers, in twisted paths, whatever. He built it way down deep under the holy temple, and that's where he put the tablets. So but the tablets weren't revealed. It was a lower level. The tablets were not revealed in the second temple. So the first temple was a higher revelation of godliness than the second temple. Why? Because in the second temple, there were missing five things. The tablets, the ark, other thing. And especially the ark was missing. Makom Menucha Shechina, that was the place where the Shechina is resting. That was the first temple. There was more godliness revealed. The second temple, though, had its advantage. What? The Kaviuto. It took up more of the world. It was bigger physically. Shoya Gadol Mibayid Rishon. It was physically bigger than the first temple, and it lasted 10 years longer than the first temple. Gadolas Amakom. The fact that it took up more place and more time, this means that there was more godliness in the world. So the first temple was more godly, and the second temple was more worldly, which the world is also holy by. That's our job, to make the world holy. That's what it means. Nachmu, nachmu. That's what it says. God says, I will comfort. Double comfort on the first temple. Then there'll be more godliness, and more comfort on the second temple. It'll be more worldly. That the third temple, Yagam Bayit Meshulash, it'll be triple. It'll have the qualities of both the first and the second temple together. In addition to something higher, Sheyubo Milos, it'll have the first temple and the second temple. The first temple was revealed godliness. That'll be greater in the third temple. And that'll be physical in the world. That'll be greater than the second temple. This is the joining of two of them together. You can't even sense that these two ways of comforting the Jewish people, there'll be more godliness revealed, and it'll be permanent. Therefore, it'll accomplish what the first temple and the second temple did not accomplish. This is hinted at by the doubling of Nachamu, Nacham. Be comforted, be comforted. That these two words are equal. Let's see, who's this? Good morning. Ofani. And this is, the third temple, therefore, will contain the good qualities of the first temple, which was pure godliness, and the second temple, which was more worldliness, it spread out more into the world. The third temple will be in a way that it'll be Nachamu doubled and redoubled and redoubled and redoubled in a way that is infinite, lamito, truly. That the whole idea of the third temple will be truly unlimited, but it'll be in the world. We'll see how precious and infinite this physical world is in reality. And because of the lack of limitation, so therefore it'll be complete in all of the possible ways of completeness. Whether we're talking about the godliness that's revealed, mitzat elyon, or mitzat tachton, or because of the physical world, or both of them together. Kol echad, each and one of them will be a way which is unlimited. Unlimited. Okay, it's very hard for us to really translate this into worldly terms, because, like I say, I mean, I said so many times, a person wins the lottery, like $100 million. He doesn't know what to do with it. He just doesn't know what to do with it. Just so much money. Maybe if you're like a big financier and you have money, so you know what to, we have places where you want to invest it, and you want to, where you can save it, and okay, but that's unusual, right? That's only talking about money, just physical money. Here we're talking about godliness, pure godliness. Pure godliness knocks people out. People see godliness that knocks people out, right? A little hint of godliness. There's all these religions in the world that are based on, some person in India, he got a revelation, and some person in whatever it is in China, all of a sudden his son was sick and he prayed to whatever it is, to the stars or the sun or something, and the son got healed, the child got healed. This knocks the person out. All of a sudden he changes his whole life. Right? He changes his whole life. He realizes there's something going on in the world. And that's for good. For bad, not that the person lives in a haunted house and he goes crazy, right? Woo, what's going on? So the things you don't know what's going on. You can't take it. People just can't take any sort of anything that impede that goes into their comfort zone. Their comfort zone. And here the Rebbe is going to say that this is a level of good that's going to be infinite good. Infinite good. Imagine the best thing you can possibly imagine. Multiply that by 2. Right? You can't get it. You multiply it not by 2, by 100. I couldn't even get 2. 2 is okay. 100. Multiply it by 1,000,000. Multiply it by 1,000,000,000. Multiply it. You don't know what it means. What does it mean? And the Rebbe is saying that all of this is going to be available to us in this physical world. That's the whole idea of Moshiach. And we'll see, because of that, we'll see that it was worthwhile, all of the pain and the suffering, especially when we see that those people who died, they didn't really die. They'll be the raising of the dead. How this is going to be, I have absolutely no idea. But nevertheless, the Rebbe is telling us, good, you don't have any idea, that's good. Don't think that you do have an idea, because the revelation is going to be so infinitely good, we have no idea how good it is, because we don't know who we are. We don't know how good we really are. How good human beings are. But we're being created by God personally. According to this, we can explain also the connection between Nachmu, and being comforted, and our etchanan. In this week's Torah portion, what's going on over here? Have you seen Abba? I haven't seen. Okay. But a couple of days ago, I think he came. Okay. According to this, we can explain. There's a lot of people that watch these classes not when they're given. There's like these classes, like the minimum is usually like 20 people see the class. Sometimes there's 100. Sometimes there's several hundred that watch the classes. Right? It depends which classes they are. So it could be there's people that they don't tune in when the class is being given, but afterwards they do. Okay. According to this, now we can understand what Nachamu, that when God is saying, that's this week's Haftorah, I'm comforting you, doubled and redoubled. And what is the connection to this with Etchanan? If you remember, the Rebbe asked a question yesterday, that Nachamu, God is going to give us a tremendous blessing, doubled and redoubled blessing, that will be able to understand all the pain and difficulties the Jewish people have experienced through these thousands of years, the destruction of the first temple, second temple, etc. God will comfort and recomfort us. This is the Haftorah of Et Hanan, which seems to be exactly the opposite. God did not give Moses anything. Moses requested, please, God, let me come into the land of Israel. 515 prayers he prayed, the numerical value of Et Hanan, 515 prayers, and God did not give to him. Seems to be exactly the opposite of God will give to us Nachum Unachum. What is the connection? Says the Rebbe, one of the main things of Et Hanan is double. What is it double? What's double in this week? The 10 Commandments. This week's Torah portion repeats. Listen, the whole book of Dvarim in general, in Hebrew, it's called Mishnah Torah, the repetition of the Torah. I think that's what it means in English also. Deuteronomy, do is two, I guess. Anyway, in this week's Torah portion is the repetition of the 10 Commandments. Moses, before he takes the people, sends the Jewish people into Israel. Moses doesn't go into Israel. So he gives them the book of Deuteronomy, Dvarim. He speaks, and he says, remember, Jews, you stood at Mount Sinai. Their father stood at Mount Sinai, and you heard God speak the 10 Commandments, and then he repeats the 10 Commandments. There are changes in this time and the other time. That's explained by the rabbis. But nevertheless, it doubles over. It repeats the 10 Commandments. Kefil, double. Even though the 10 Commandments already were given in Parshat Yitro, over there in the middle of the book of Exodus, and they were redoubled. They were redoubled in Parshat Et Hanan. Here this week. Call Pirtei and Yanim, all of the details of the 10 Commandments, which in the 10 Commandments includes the whole entire Torah. That seems to be a repetition, a doubling. In general, it's a doubling of what we already heard before. Why? Why does God have to say it again? We already learned it before. The Birin and the explanation is like this. One of the differences between the 10 Commandments in Parshat Yitro and the 10 Commandments are they're mentioned over here in Parshat Et Hanan. But there's differences. If you look and see, compare them, you'll see there's differences. Al derech b'dugma, like it says, the difference between the first tablets. Then the Jewish people were all on the level of tzaddikim, first tablets. This is when the Jewish people got out of Egypt before they worshipped the golden calf. And the second tablets, the Jewish people, they got 80 days after the first tablets. Right? Moses broke the first tablets. He was up on Mount Sinai for 40 days. He came down and saw the Jewish people worshiping the golden calf. When did they worship the golden calf? The last few minutes that Moses was on Mount Sinai. The last few hours, a couple of hours that Moses was on Mount Sinai, they miscalculated. They thought Moses was not going to come back. They went berserk and they made a golden calf and they worshiped the golden calf. Right? And Moses came down after he was on 40 days in Mount Sinai and he broke the tablets. But the first tablets, ideally, they were for pure Jewish holy people. They came out of Egypt. They ate manna from heaven. They were protected by a rock. Like 4/5 of the Jewish people didn't even want to leave Egypt. They stayed back in Egypt. These were the choice of the choice. They came out. So the first tablets, they were written for tzaddikim. That's why he broke them. As soon as the Jewish people showed that they weren't tzaddikim. Then there's the second tablets. The second tablets were after Moses begged and pleaded for God. Please forgive the Jewish people. God gave the 13 attributes of mercy. Then the Jewish people, they became Bali Tshuva. The Jewish people regretted what they did, and they said, we're not going to do it again. Shahari, they became Bali Tshuva, the second tablets. The 10 commandments, which are in our Torah portion, they come in a continuation of the Divrei Tochacha of Moshe, the Bnei Israel. The whole book of Deuteronomy is Moses telling the Jewish people off. He's reproving them. He's telling them that they're not good, the Jewish people, you sinned. I know you're going to keep sinning. You're awful people. And then he talks about the 10 commandments. I went up, I got the 10 commandments and I broke them. And then I got the second 10 commandments, right? And here is what the 10 commandments said. The first 10 commandments you heard on Mount Sinai. This is what he said. and he repeats them. Who is he repeating them to? He's repeating them to these Jews that they repented. They repented. That was the second tablets. That's connected to the second tablets. In a little bit of a different way, we can say it. The 10 commandments in Parshat Yitro, they are mainly from God. And the 10 commandments from this week's Torah portion, this is mainly taking the Jews into consideration. Tachton, no from below. That's what we did. Because the Jewish people repented, so God said, okay, I'll give them another set of tablets. That's mostly by this week's Torah portion. But it doesn't say at all that about talking about the breaking of the tablets, and that's next week. Talk about the breaking only in Parshat Eikev. Next week it talks about breaking the tablets, and the second tablets. And this week's Torah portion it just says, remember, God took you out of Egypt, and He gave you the 10 commandments, and this is what God said. That's this week's Torah portion. The next week's Torah portion it says, remember that you sinned and I broke the tablet. Even according to this, it should have been that the breaking of the tablets should come after this week's Torah portion. It should be ad the Netinat Haluchot Parshat Ve'elchanan. It should be that the second tablets, what God said in the second tablets, that should be next week. Okay, never less. The fact that God doubled over the 10 commandments in this week's Torah portion, not next week's Torah portion, where He talks about the breaking of the tablet. This stresses mainly the infiniteness of the Torah. Namely, that the Torah that God gave is God's Torah. The Torah is a book, but it's an infinite book. And this is the connection to Et Hanan and the doubling of the future redemption. That's going to be the true future complete redemption. The main thing of this week's Torah portion, Nachamu, that God is going to comfort us, doubled and redoubled and redoubled and re-redoubled and re-redoubled, re-redoubled. Kaven since that it's an infinite, endless comfort that the Torah is given. The Torah itself is infinite. It will be revealed in the future. Torah chadasha me'itei teitzei. That's what it means, that the Torah is going to be a new Torah, that God is going to reveal a new Torah. What does it mean, a new Torah? He'll reveal the essence, the true godliness in the Torah. I mean, God's going to reveal the essence and godliness in the world. The world is going to be the same world, but we'll see the godliness, the same thing, the Torah. The Torah is going to be the same Torah, but we'll feel the infinity of the Torah, that the Torah is not just another book in the library. The Torah is not just this spiritual book that was given by God, and that you can interpret it however you want to. We'll feel the godliness of the interpretation of the rabbis in every single word of the Torah. That's what it means. In more detail, and in the future, there will be these both advantages of the first tablets. They come from God, and the second tablets, which that comes because of our repentance. Two of them will be together. It'll be pure godliness, and we'll be able to receive it. Yishlomer, that this is also hinted when it says Torah Chadasha. That's what it means. It'll be a new Torah will come from me. What does it mean? God says it'll come from me. By the way, it doesn't say in the Torah it's going to be. Isaiah prophesies this. It says it's going to be a new Torah. Isaiah doesn't say the words new Torah. It says the Torah will come from me. That's what it says. In the future, the Torah will come from me. God is saying, come from me. And the Midrash says it'll be a new Torah. But what does it mean, a new Torah? It will feel it's new. It will feel like on Mount Sinai, like it was brand new. It'll come from me. That God Himself will come from. It'll come from me. When God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, we couldn't take it. We couldn't take it. So the advantage of the Torah of Moshiach will be it'll be the same Torah on Mount Sinai, but we'll be able to take it. Sheteitze, it'll come from heaven, from me, from God, and it'll come below in the physical world, and we'll be able to understand it in natural human understanding. But and kan ischalkos, there's no difference between the first tablets and the second tablets, but mitzad heder hagbala, there won't be any limitations anymore. So therefore, it'll be complete in every detail, like we said before. That's the whole novelty, that man will be different. We will be different. And then we'll be able to accept the essence of the Torah as it was given on Mount Sinai in its pure in wholeness, godliness. We can say And in a way like this will be yichud nifla. There'll be a tremendous unity. What does it mean, tremendous unity? That now when we learn the Torah, this is explained in the fifth chapter of the Torah. It says there'll be a yichud nifla. When we learn the Torah, what do we do? A Jew learns the Torah. What happens? He takes an idea. You have to understand something. You take an idea and you put it in your mind, right? A simple idea. You put it in your mind, right? Put on tefillin on your arm. Give charity. Simple idea. It says in the Torah, you should give charity. When you learn that idea that it says in the Torah, and you put that idea in your mind, like we're doing now, all these ideas, what's inside of your mind? Ideas that God's ideas. It's not human ideas. These are God's ideas. We just think, God must think about all these spiritual, not explainable things and these, forms and of heaven, whatever it is, godly things. No. What is God thinking? These words that are written in the Torah, this is what God is thinking. This is what God is saying. When we learn these ideas, we have God's thoughts in our mind. Maybe we don't feel it, but that's what's happening. That's what's called the tremendous unity, that our intelligence can actually grasp the idea that's in the Torah and encompass it in the mind. And also our mind is sunk into the idea. The idea grabs us also. It's explained in the fifth chapter of the Tanya. When you learn this new Torah from God, there won't be any division between these two ways, from above or from below. Like it says, Tan lashoni imotecha, my tongue will speak your words. That man, when we say the words of Torah, it'll be like just answering after what God says. That's from below to above. Anyone who reads in Torah, God reads after him. So we'll have both of them together. God is speaking and we're answering after him. And on the other hand, it says that when we learn Torah, God answers us. So who's answering who? So it says together that God will answer after we say the Torah. And here it says we answer after God says the words of the Torah. How is it going to be possible we'll do both together? Because in the future, that's the new Torah that's going to be revealed. It'll be one without any limitation. Mitzad Heder Agbalah, there won't be any limitations. So we'll feel the infinity of God in this world, which really that's what we should feel now. I mean, it's God that's creating us. It's not that God created the first man a long time ago, and that's it. Then the inner, the intimate relation between God and man ended when God created the first man. That's it, right? And then afterwards, it just sort of coasted on, and history just sort of unrolled itself. It's not so. It's not so. We right now are being created by God. We don't feel it. We should feel it. We are amazing miracles. God is creating us because he wants us to be here. We're important. We're not just here as like germs or something like that. A virus has just sort of popped up, on their own. We are being created by God. Every one of us. In the future, when Moshiach comes, we'll feel it, but we'll feel it through the Torah. That's the whole point. The Torah. And that's the whole essence of this week's Torah portion, that the Torah will be a doubled Torah. The Torah will bring a doubled and redoubled blessing in everything in the world, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. That's the idea of Mashiach, to reveal who we really are. Now, let's do the Yom Yom. 1 second. Stop share. Okay. The Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, he went with his brother Yehuda Leib in 1764. Yehuda Leib, his brother, went without permission from his wife, so he went back. The first Rebbe of Chabad, he came to Mezrich, and he stayed there until after Passover for 1 year. For 2 weeks afterwards, the first 2 weeks he was there, he was uncertain if he should remain there or not. The first mimer that he heard was Nachmu Nachmu, this week's Torah portion. It's not clear if this is the first mimer after he arrived or the first after the 2 weeks when he decided to remain. They say the story was, and I guess maybe this can be the story of this week, and maybe I'll make this the story. I'll make this the story, Yom Yom, and story. This is what it'll be this way, okay? I'll stop this and then I'll say the story. Here it goes. Ready? Yes.